There's a million slice of life romance anime out there, but how many of them are actually worth sinking your Saturdays into binging? Hi, I'm Chris, and welcome to At Least It's Not Isekai. I'm kidding. Today we're going to be talking about The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity. Not only is it Netflix's most anticipated new romance title, it's also the hardest one for me to say. Our story opens with three kids being hounded by some neighborhood hoodlums, I guess is the best word, possibly even ruffians. They were giving their would-be victims some grief when they noticed the uniforms that the kids were wearing were from Chidori High, a rundown high school for super-duper delinquent losers, and apparently this kid who's secretly really smart, I think. They ask about a tall blonde guy that goes to their school, which ends up not only being our main character Rintaro Sugumi, but the guy that's standing right behind them. A tall and allegedly scary looking boy. Note the earrings. In a shocking turn of events, we find out rather quickly that Rintaro isn't actually the delinquent that he appears to be on the outside. You see, his parents own a cake shop, and he works there sometimes. It was during one of his shifts doing just that when we meet our female MC, Karuko Wagari. Dude, I'm sorry if I'm butchering these names. I'm doing my best. I watched it in sub. A cute little thing sitting in the corner of the shop and absolutely housing what I can only assume was an entire family of cakes. She runs away pretty much as soon as she and Rintaro make eye contact, so he obviously assumes it's because he's so big and scary looking despite not wearing earrings at work. As you have probably surmised already, Rintaro's got some self-esteem issues, but fret not. Wagari comes back the next day to apologize for being rude and dipping on Rintaro, along with reassuring him that it wasn't because of his big scary appearance that she ran away. Anyway, during the first night at the shop, Rintaro notices just how small Wagari is and assumes that she's younger than him. But oh boy is she not. Not only is she the same age, but she goes to Kikyo, the ritzy girls preparatory academy that is ever so conveniently located directly next door to his dumpster school. Rintaro has no idea about any of this though. Not at first at least. That is, until he peeks out the window one day while daydreaming in class and he sees the curtains in Kikyo moving a little bit for the very first time. And here, fellows and lady fellows, is where our main conflict starts to take shape. These two schools hate each other. Like, a lot. It's more than just your standard inner high school rivalry. We're not dealing with the typical Kikyo beating them in academics, but Chidori schools them in underwater bare-knuckle boxing every year type of situation. We're dealing with full-blown classism. Most of the students at Kikyo come from well-off families, resulting in the upward head tilt when looking at students from Chidori. You know what that means.
We've got ourselves a Romeo and Juliet situation, boys!
As we progress in our story, we dive further and further into just how unaccepting everyone is of the relationships between students at these schools. Even going as far as to suggest that just being seen with Rintaro could put Wagari's scholarship in jeopardy. What? Scholarship? You ask quietly because you don't want anybody else to know how invested you are into the story already? Yeah. Wagari isn't like the other girls in school. She doesn't come from a rich family. She had to get in on scholarship, and so she maintains the best grades in her class as a result. The polar opposite of our little scary boy. Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity, or Fubuda as the kids are calling it, is shaping up to be a wholesome watch. I haven't read the manga or anything this is based on, so I don't know how close it stays to the source material, but I can say that despite the pretty standard forbidden love high school romance plot, it's actually really enjoyable so far. While we do still have our standard tropes, we also have a couple changes to the formula that are really refreshing. Rintaro isn't actually a misunderstood ruffian that goes out and gets into fights all the time. He's a misunderstood slacker with self-esteem issues that never corrects anyone when they accuse him of such. He shoulders the blame for virtually everything, but not because he wants to spare other people the burden. It's because he thinks he deserves it. He's, again, just a scary looking guy. One with a good heart, but is also afraid to open up around other people, which I'm sure is a feeling that a lot of people can resonate with. Most of us have probably been hurt by someone or something in a way that's left us a little emotionally scarred. Trauma is a hell of a drug. It can keep us from wanting to form new relationships in order to avoid experiencing that pain again. And you know, I'm sure some of you are also scary looking, so that's a potential twofer. And then we have Wagari. Yeah, she's the beautiful girl that goes to the ritzy school for beautiful girls, but her family's normal. She is normal. She's caring and outgoing despite her shyness. She tries to form new bonds with the people in her life. She isn't turned away by Rintaro's scary looks, partly because she isn't one to judge someone so easily, and partly because she's seen him outside of school, away from the stigma that surrounds his uniform. This show gives us drama stemming from secret keeping and hurdles to overcome with fellow students and faculty that may or may not support relationships between the students in the neighboring school. We watch as Wagari unintentionally gives Rintaro the drive to be a better student, someone that doesn't quit, someone that can be proud to stand by her. We see Rintaro's confidence grow in approaching people. At one point, Rintaro has to confront Wagari's best friend because she, like most people at Kikyo, are adamantly against her being with or hanging around boys from the dumpster school. As a result, it ends up falling on Rintaro and associates to essentially disprove all the negative opinions that all the students and staff at Kikyo have about Chidori. Rintaro has a solid friend group, but despite that, we watch as he continues to struggle internally about whether to tell them about Wagari. We see that he wants to let them in, but doesn't initially. Not because he doesn't trust them or think that they want to prove, but because he doesn't want to risk Wagari's status at Kikyo. This show's one to watch if you're just a slice of life enjoyer or just wanting to finally dip your toes into the genre. A wholesome watch that'll give you some good warm fuzzies and a handful of laughs, usually courtesy of Uzumi. I've watched anime my entire life, but I'm still unfortunately pretty new to anything that isn't like shonen or seinen, so if you have any other shows that you want me to watch or make a video on, let me know in the comments. I'm Chris, thanks for watching.